It's 2 a.m. You're not asleep. You're doing math, rent. That card you swore you'd pay off. The number in your account that never seems to grow, no matter how hard you work. Your chest feels tight. Your jaw is clenched. And somewhere underneath the math, there's a feeling you can't quite name. Here's the strange part. That feeling? You felt it before. Long before you had a bank account. You felt it lying in a bed that wasn't quite yours to control. In a room with a door that maybe didn't lock. Or shelves someone else decided what went on. Stay with me here, because this is going to sound strange. The reason you can't sleep tonight has almost nothing to do with money. It has to do with a room you haven't lived in for 20 years. By the end of this video, you're going to understand something most people never figure out. Your bank account isn't just numbers, it's a room. A room you built without knowing it. And you built it using the exact blueprint from your childhood bedroom. Once you see the blueprint, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you can finally stop repeating it. Let's pull back the curtain. If this is your first time here, we do one thing on this channel. We look at the shadow, the parts of you that got pushed underground a long time ago. The anger you weren't allowed to show. The needs nobody met. The envy you're ashamed to admit you feel. We don't look away from it, we use it. Because the parts of you that got buried didn't disappear. They just started running things from the basement. Today, we're going into one very specific basement. Your childhood bedroom. Think about it for a second. Your bedroom was the first piece of territory you ever had. The first space that was supposed to be yours. And in that space, you learned some very early lessons. Lessons your conscious mind forgot. But your nervous system, it never forgot. You learned whether your space was safe, whether it was respected, whether you had control over it, or whether it could be taken from you at any moment. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Your brain doesn't file that lesson under bedroom. It files it under how the world treats what's mine. And your bank account? That's the most obvious thing you'll ever call mine as an adult. So the exact same nervous system that learned to guard, or hide, or panic, or shut down in that childhood room. It wakes right back up every time you open your banking app. Same fear. New room. Quick question. When you check your bank balance, what's the very first feeling? Not the thought, the feeling. Is it dread, numbness, a flinch like you're bracing for bad news before you've even looked? Hold on to that feeling. We're coming back to it. Psychologists who study money behavior have a name for this. They call them money scripts, the silent rules about money you absorbed as a kid, long before you could think critically about any of it. Nobody sat you down and taught you these rules. You caught them. The way you catch an accent, the way you catch a parent's posture. And I've found the fastest way to spot your own script isn't to think about money at all. It's to think about your childhood room. Let's walk through 4 of them. See which one lands. Maybe you shared a room. Maybe your stuff kept disappearing or getting borrowed or judged. Maybe a sibling or even a parent walked in whenever they wanted. If that was you, here's what happened. You learned that nothing you have is really safe. Not even the small stuff. So, as an adult, you became a vault. You save obsessively. You check your balance 5 times a day, not out of greed, but out of vigilance. Spending money, even on yourself, can feel like a threat alarm going off. You're not bad with money. You're guarding a door that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe your room got inspected, criticized. There was always one more thing wrong with it, a corner not tidy, a bed not made right. If that was you, you learned that enough is a moving target. That you're only safe when you're perfect. So now, no amount of savings ever feels like enough. You hit a goal, and instead of relief, you just set a harder one. You can have money in the bank and still feel poor, because the goalpost was never really about the number. It was about earning approval that never quite came. Maybe money was tight, and nobody said so. The room was small, or hand-me-down, or clearly the cheap option. But it was never named out loud. You just felt it. If that was you, you learned that money is something you feel shame about in silence. So, as an adult, you avoid your finances the way your family avoided the topic. Unopened statements. Unchecked balances. Not because you don't care, because looking feels like reopening an old wound you were trained not to touch. Maybe you didn't get a say. The color, the layout, the posters on the wall. Someone else decided, and you just lived in it. If that was you, you learned that control gets taken from you, whether you like it or not. So now, spending can become rebellion. A way to finally say, this is mine, and I decide. The impulse buy. The thing you couldn't really afford, but bought anyway. It's rarely about the object. It's about finally having a door you get to slam. Go back to that feeling you held on to a minute ago, the one you get when you check your balance. Does it match one of these rooms? That's not a coincidence. That's the blueprint still running 30 years later. Here's where it gets deeper. Because a script is just a rule. But underneath every one of those rules is a feeling you were never allowed to have. Anger, that a room that was supposed to be yours never really was. Grief for a safety you didn't get. Envy, watching other kids' rooms, their stuff, their ease, their lack of worry. Shame about a house that felt different from other houses. Nobody let you feel those things fully, so they didn't leave. They went into the shadow, and the shadow doesn't forget. It just waits for a new stage to perform on. Your bank account became that stage every time you sabotage your savings the moment they start to grow. That's not carelessness. That's the buried anger, finally getting a turn. Every time you can't enjoy money you've earned, even on vacation, even on something you love. That's the grief, making sure you don't get too comfortable, because comfort wasn't safe before. Every time you buy something you don't need, right after feeling small. That's the envy, finally getting fed. This is the part most self-help videos skip. They tell you to budget better. They tell you to just save more. But you can't budget your way out of a shadow. You have to meet it first. So let's do that. Right now, 3 steps, simple but not easy. Name the room. Close your eyes for a second. Next time you're somewhere private. Picture your childhood bedroom. Not the whole thing. One detail, the door, the window, a specific corner. Now ask yourself one question. What did that room teach me about safety? Write down the first honest answer, not the polished one, the raw one. Name the feeling. You weren't allowed. Ask yourself, growing up, what feeling about money or about needing things was I not allowed to show? Anger that things were tight. Shame about what your family had. Envy of what other kids had. Fear that things could disappear. Whatever comes up, don't argue with it. Just say it out loud, even alone in a room. I was angry. I was ashamed. I was scared. That sentence is the door to the basement. And the moment you open a door, it stops being a locked room. It just becomes a room. Write the new room's rules. Here's the move most people miss. You don't need to fix the old room. You need to consciously furnish the new one, your finances, as they exist today. Write 3 sentences right now in the present tense. I am allowed to have money and feel calm, not guilty. I am allowed to spend on myself without it meaning I'm out of control. I am allowed to check my balance without bracing for bad news. Read them again, slowly. Your nervous system is listening, even if it doesn't believe you yet. That's fine. It didn't believe the old rules overnight either. This works the same way, slowly, and then all at once. Let's say the core idea one more time, because this is the one thing I want you to leave with. Your bank account is not just numbers. It's a room. And you built it using the blueprint from your childhood bedroom, the one about safety, control, and whether you were allowed to have things at all. You didn't choose that blueprint. A kid never does, but you're not a kid anymore. And for the first time, you get to hold the pen. So here's what I want you to do, not later. Now, or right after this video ends, go back to that room in your mind. Notice which one of the 4 you recognized yourself in. The room with no lock, the room that was never clean enough, the room nobody talked about, or the room you weren't allowed to choose. Then drop it in the comments. One word is enough. Lock, clean, silent, control. You'll be surprised how many other people say the exact same word, because the rooms were different. But the shadow inside them? It's the same one, in almost all of us. If this helped you see something you'd never noticed before, that's exactly why this channel exists. We're not here to help you manage your money better. We're here to help you meet the part of you that's still standing in that old room, waiting for someone to finally turn the light on. Next time, we're going into the room you built as an adult. The one you decorate, the one you hide, the one you call home. And we're going to ask an uncomfortable question. Are you finally living in a space you chose, or are you still just redecorating someone else's rules? Subscribe if you want to be there when we open that door. I'll see you in the next one.